Hey guys, Dean here. In this video, we're going to be talking about ChatGPT, and I'm going to take you from the beginner step, from step 0, all the way to being a power user in this guide. If you've ever dreamt of having an AI companion, which is literally going to do all your work for you and kind of be a virtual assistant of sorts, and even do things like translate languages for you, make your workflow easier, generate creative content, and answer very complex questions, then welcome to the future, my friends, because this video, I'm going to show you examples of many of these things and show you how you can get in on the AI revolution right now. So let's jump into the tutorial. So the very first step before we begin is we've got to sign up for ChatGPT. So you want to go to this URL, chat.openai.com. Then it'll take us to our login page. I'll link that in the description down below to make it easy for you guys. Then you want to go ahead and press sign up. Now I already have an account, but I'm going to sign up for a new one just to show you guys how it works in this tutorial, just so you understand how the sign up process works. Now what I like to do is when signing up or logging in, I like to continue with Google because I have a Google account, so it's much easier to log in on certain websites that use the Google integration. But if you were to create a brand new account, you would just go ahead and type in your email address. So you'd go ahead and you type in your email address, maybe like a Gmail, and they'd send you a verification code to actually sign up. Now, if you are going to use the Google route, which I'd recommend, you can also just select Google. And Microsoft works exactly the same, so you can also use a Microsoft account. I'm going to click Microsoft just because I've already got a Google account, but I'm just going to sign into my Microsoft account, and I'm going to press stay signed in. We're going to press yes to link to our Microsoft account. Now, Microsoft is a big investor in ChatGPT. I'm not sure if they own it, but they have like a big share of it. So Microsoft linking it with ChatGPT is very safe. So then you go ahead and you type in your name. So I just type in my name over here. I type in my birthday, press continue. Then you'd use your phone number, and then you need to verify it, and they'll send you an SMS code. So when you get the text, type in the SMS code. And now we're in ChatGPT. So this is what you'll be welcomed with when you first go into ChatGPT, okay? Now, you'll see on the left-hand side, we have upgrade to Plus. Now, I do actually have Plus. I'm subscribed to ChatGPT Premium or the Plus plan on my main account. But on this account, which I'm showing you for this tutorial, I'm not subscribed. But I recommend subscribing if you want to get much faster speeds, priority to the new features, and also GPT-4. Because for this video, for the examples, I'm going to be using GPT 3.5, which is what everyone, including you, can access for free. But if you subscribe, you can use GPT-4, which has much greater comprehension of certain topics and subjects. It has, I think, an extra years of data. I think GPT 3.5 is up to like 2021. I think 2022 data is in GPT-4. Not 100% sure, but it's just generally a much better, smarter AI model. So as you can see, when we go on the homepage, there's also a few example prompts. So prompts are basically the things which you type in this chat box down here for ChatGPT to actually give you some data. So if I type in a prompt and then enter, that's like a chat message which I'm sending to ChatGPT, and then it will comprehend my data and then give me a response. So that's what a prompt is, what you type in here. And when you're on ChatGPT's homepage, it'll show you some example prompts. So as you can see, we have a few examples of how it works. Explain quantum computing in simplistic terms. I'm just going to use some of these test prompts to show you how they work. So I'm going to click that, and it'll basically explain this scientific process in simplistic terms. So it says quantum computing is a type of computing that uses the principles of quantum mechanics to perform certain types of calculations much faster than classic computers. So this is one prompt you can type in, explain, and then the topic name after that, and it will explain me something. If I just press stop generate, I could just type in explain what an apple is. I know this is a silly question, but it will then explain what that certain topic or subject in question is. So that's one prompt you can use. There's another example, got any creative ideas for a 10-year-old's birthday? So this is also a prompt which asks for creative ideas. So it will generate me basically creative ideas, maybe if you have like a son or a daughter, which is pretty cool. So that's another way that you can use ChatGPT, and it'll give you a list, usually typically 5 to 10 things of creative ideas you can do for a birthday party. And then also, how do I make a HTTP request in JavaScript? So ChatGPT does actually have some kind of understanding of programming code, especially GPT-4, which I said you get with the premium plan. If you're subscribed, you can do some really great things with GPT-4. As you can see, it says in JavaScript, you can make a HTTP request using the built-in XML HTTP request object or the newer fetch API. And then it shows us an example of the JavaScript code we can use. We can also press copy here to copy that to our clipboard, and it shows us the alternate method as well. So you can use this as a coding companion if you're a programmer, which is a nice use case for ChatGPT. So now I've showed you these examples. Let me just explain the capabilities over here, and we'll go a little bit deeper into that later. So ChatGPT will remember what the user said in the conversation, which is why we're going to be explaining what chat threads are in a moment. It also allows the user to provide follow-up corrections. So if you don't don't like the response it gives you, you can ask for it to rewrite it or correct it. It's trained to decline inappropriate requests. So if you type in something which is vulgar or something which might be negative or something which is inherently quite bad, ChatGPT does have filters and safeguards to not respond to those questions. Although if you use a so-called jailbreak prompt, which there is those out there, if you're interested in those, they kind of skirt around these limitations and you can get access to basically any kind of information. Although these are a little bit riskier because once you remove that filter, the stuff you get back in return from your prompts may not be what you want to see. So that's also another subject. Then limitations, it may occasionally generate incorrect information. So if you're asking anything which is as of current, it won't have access to that data because it's using data from 2021 mostly. And also it might generate inaccurate things because it's using data it's sourced from the internet where there's going to be mistakes. It may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content. So we've seen a few cases of this where people have asked for advice, hasn't given them the best advice, but for the most part it does give good advice. And like I said, limited knowledge of world and events after 2021. So keep this in mind, especially if you're writing very up-to-date articles or using it for research of modern things or trends. It's not really going to be able to help you unless you use plugins, like there is a really good plugin on how to use Google with ChatGPT to get up-to-date information. Now we've gone through the examples, the capabilities, the limitations. Let me explain how chats work. So if I would go ahead and just type in here and just say hello, just for an example, and press enter, it will create a new chat thread on the left-hand side, which you've seen. All of these chats basically act like a chat thread, which is why I'm calling them chat threads, okay? And the AI can remember every single piece of the conversation, all the prompts, and its own responses to those prompts of yours in each particular chat thread. So it'll remember all of them, it can use them as a reference, and also it'll remember what you've said, which is useful if you want to ask it further questions on something that you want to be verified further, or if you need more clarification on. So if you don't really want to use the old data, or if you want to kind of separate things or separate conversations, you can just start a new thread by clicking new chat and then type in a prompt like we would before and it'll create a new chat. So I could just type in hi again and it'll create a new chat thread on the left. This is useful because you might want to separate certain chat threads for certain things. Also, you might want to start a totally new conversation, completely new, and just refresh it. Also, if you want to clear all chats, just press this little trash icon and press the tick and it will clear all the chats. I'd recommend just to do this to stay on top of things when you first use ChatGPT, because otherwise you'll get hundreds of chats like what I have on my main account, which gets a little bit annoying. But luckily, there is a button to clear the whole chat history, which you can access later. So before we get into the use cases and a few prompt examples, let's just take a look. So you can upgrade to Plus on the left hand side, which is $20 a month. We've been through what that gives you access to. You can also click on your profile here, go to help and FAQ. This will open up the official OpenAI support page. So from here we can have a look at resolving certain things with our pro subscription and information. We can also click on settings and we can change the theme. So we can use the system theme, we can use the dark mode and also the light mode. I personally like system. You can also press clear all chats here to delete all your chat history easily if you just have a cluster of them that you forgot to stay on top of. And data control. So this is new. I believe they brought this in last month. Very interesting stuff. This is for you guys who kind of want to stay on top of privacy. Basically what this does is there's an option here, chat history and training. So save new chats to your history, which it has been doing, and allow them to be used to improve GPT via model training. Unsaved chats will be deleted every 30 days. So if you have this turned on, it will save your chat data, but it will use your chat data for training. So if you have any sensitive information that you've talked about and you don't want it to be used to train the AI model, untick this. But unfortunately, they haven't separated these two. So you need it ticked to save your chats, which is kind of annoying. So you kind of need to opt in to allow to share your information if you want to save your chats. So hopefully they'll split those in the future, but currently they haven't. Export data. I believe this exports your chat into like an Excel document, CSV file, or some kind of other format, so you can use it in other software. And also you can delete your account if for some reason you don't want to use AI, which I wouldn't recommend. Okay, so that's settings. So let's go over some more use cases, and I'm going to show you some exact prompt examples for these use cases to get you started. So the first one is inquiries. So we can actually create inquiries with ChatGPT. So let's just have an example of this. So I could type in, write me a list of fun hobbies that I can try, just like this. And I can press enter. And now, if I'm looking for a hobby to do and I'm bored with my day, it's going to give me some cool hobbies. But these are going to be mostly generic hobbies at first. So I'm going to show you how we can home in on specifics. So it's going to give us a few hobbies: painting or drawing, photography, gardening, for an example, cooking or baking, or hiking or camping. So it's going to give us quite a few snippets of information. Now, GPT-3 is a little bit slower to type out. If you subscribe to Pro, not only will you get GPT-4, you'll get GPT 3.5, which is much quicker. Now, if I want to dial this in and I think these are generic hobbies. I could have a more specific prompt, which actually tells ChatGPT to give me more specific information for a more tailored response. So let's say I typed in, give me a list of 15 extremely engaging and fresh hobbies that are active in the outdoors or require some kind of physical strength or ability. Let's say I'm into sports and I want to use strength and have some hobbies which are active. I could type in this prompt, which is a lot more specific, and it's going to come back and it's going to give me some better information than before. So it's going to give me rock climbing, which I like. I've been bouldering before. Would love to go back and do that, to be honest. Surfing, that seems super fun. Parkour, super fun. Trail running, mountain biking. These are all really cool outdoor activities to do in the summer. In fact, I might actually take a few of these and do them when I go on holiday next. So this is giving us some more tailored information related to physical activity outdoors. So you can ask it more specifics to give you information which is a little less generic, which is what I'm trying to show you in this guide. Now, every time I show you a new use case, just so I don't have to explain it every time, we are going to press new chat because I don't want to have everything in the same chat. But next I'm going to show you comments. So if for some reason you can't be bothered to write your own comments, then you could do it lazily and we could actually write a comment. So I could type in, let's say I want to reply or leave a pinned comment on this video. I could type in, write me a YouTube comment, and then I could say, from perspective of authority that explains how ChatGPT works. Keep it short. Type that in and it's going to write me a comment which is kind of a more professional comment, not really from a personal perspective, and it'll say, as an AI language model based on GPT 3.5, GPT uses natural language processing to understand and respond to user input. It leverages a vast data set to generate contextually relevant responses, making it an incredibly powerful tool for a wide range of applications. So that's how to write a comment, and obviously you could type in things like make it more personal or personable and relatable and from a person, something like that. That's kind of a silly thing to say, but then it says, hey there, I'd love to explain how ChatGPT works. Think of me as a language model, sort of like a really advanced version of autocorrect on your phone. So it's writing it from as if a person was talking. So you can type in certain things or certain tones to make it sound in a different way, which we'll get onto a little bit more. Also, what's interesting is using it for the purpose of law. So you can use this for contracts, you can use this for reading contracts, and you can use it for generally writing up contracts. Now, one example I like to show to give you an understanding is I could use this to write a tenancy agreement. So I could write me a 12-month contract for a brand new tenant in my property or in my rental property, and then in brackets I'll put show rules and breaches of contract and sections for signatures of the tenant and landlord at the bottom, and then I'll just put dash follow industry standard layout, closing bracket, and I'll press enter. That's a very complex prompt, but I want to show you an example of writing a complex prompt. It doesn't have to be something which a robot types. A prompt can be what you exactly want to explain. So whatever you're thinking in your head, describe it the best as possible and you'll get a better response. That's just generally how to write a great prompt, which is why I don't share my best prompts which I use for YouTube, for an example, because they work really well. This is for a tenancy agreement, and you can see it says rental agreement, and it's got information on the property description, the terms of the lease, the rental information and the rental sums and amounts, utilities, security deposits, basically everything that we wanted from an industry standard layout. Okay, so it's given us a really great rental contract, and we can also do this to read rental contracts. So if you would get an email of a rental contract and you didn't really understand how to comprehend it, maybe you don't want to actually hire a solicitor to read it for you, we could technically use ChatGPT for that. Now, I wouldn't recommend it because obviously legalities and such, but let's just copy and paste this whole rental agreement we've generated, and then I'll type in the chat box for a prompt. I'll type in, read this tenancy agreement, comprehend it for me, and give me the information in easy to read bullet points for the layman. I don't know if that's how to spell layman, but that basically means like the average person. Tell me what I'm agreeing to if I sign this. And then I'll put colon, shift and enter to go down a few lines, then I'll control and V to paste it, press enter, and now ChatGPT is going to read the whole tenancy agreement for us. It's then going to break it down into easy to understand bullet points, and then it's going to tell us if we sign this tenancy agreement, what are we actually agreeing to. And this is great when you get contracts, and in fact I do this with YouTube because sometimes people send you contracts to try and swindle you out of your money, and since I don't have a lawyer, I actually do this to read over things so I don't get scammed. So it's extremely effective and really useful, and the model has been through testing and it's done better in a lot of cases than real lawyers, so you can rely on this for the most part, okay, which is why I do trust it. So it says this is a rental agreement between the landlord and tenant for a property located at this address. It's for a period of 12 months. It starts on this date and ends on this date. Tenant must pay the landlord this amount each month on this due date. The tenant's responsible for paying all the utilities, gas, electric, water, and other services that are rendered for use during the term of the agreement. So, without reading the whole thing, because it'll get boring for you, it's actually told me exactly what I'm signing off on this. Super useful. So, if you're very naive and you feel like you'll get scammed in any walks of life, you can use it for things like this, and it'll really help you out. Next is Twitter. So, I know a lot of you guys watching this video are going to be wanting to write some really engaging Twitter posts. Maybe you want to grow your Twitter following and have more engagement. So, I'm going to show you how to use it for Twitter. So, let me show you. So, I'm going to say, write me a tweet about if there will actually be better AI model than ChatGPT in the future. And then in brackets, we're going to use a tone, a style. So I'm going to do opening bracket, close bracket. In the middle, I'm going to type in a cynical tone. In a cynical tone or style, it doesn't matter what you type in. Just to show you an example of how to use a custom tone or style when entering your prompt, because it will determine what the output's going to be. So press enter. And this is going to write as a tweet about if there's going to be something better than ChatGPT, which there probably will, and it will probably be GPT-5. And it says, sure, there'll probably be a better AI model than me in the future, just like there's always a better phone, laptop, or car around the corner. But for now, let's bask in the glory of my unparalleled wit and charm, shall we? Now, I don't like this. I don't want to post this on Twitter because it sounds like ChatGPT is writing it from their perspective. So I'm going to type in, write it from an outer perspective, not from the viewpoint of ChatGPT, but a person who is a critic or fan, for an example. And it'll rewrite this and it'll say, many are impressed by ChatGPT's abilities, but let's be honest, there will always be new and improved AI models in the future. So you can see that cynical undertone to it. And it's written from someone who's not talking from the perspective of ChatGPT. So that's how to tailor your prompt in a specific tone or style to make it sound a certain way, and also to actually model the response from a certain perspective. So a different type of person, a third party, or from a first person perspective. And then I'm going to show you how to condense information. So I'm just going to copy this tenancy agreement we had earlier again, because this is just the closest block of text which I already have on hand. Just going to copy this. Then in a new prompt, I'm going to type in condense this information into a list of key bullet points, colon, go onto a new line with holding shift and pressing enter a few times, and then control and V to paste. I'm going to press enter. This is going to do the exact same that I showed you before, to be honest, because we've already done this, but this is a more simplistic prompt. So you can type in a huge block of text and then tell it to condense it into bullet points, and it'll give you the key takeaway points. This is great if you have an ebook. You could also copy and paste a whole chapter as long as it's within the character limits that ChatGPT allows, and then tell it to condense it, and you can make a book summary and put it into bullet points without having to read the full thing. So you can use this for a lot of cool things. Now I'm going to show you a few less specific prompt examples so you can understand kind of the use cases of how this works. And then after, we're going to move on to a few tips on writing your own prompts in the future and what you should think of when doing so. I'm going to show you a few random prompt examples from the history of what I've used before, and I'm just going to break it into like an easy to understand, comprehensible thing. We can also write brief summaries. Now, ChatGPT doesn't always have access to summaries on every single book. In fact, a lot of business books that I wanted to get takeaways from, it didn't have a summary on, but there is access to websites that have summaries of them. So let's type in, write me a brief summary of the novel To Kill a Mockingbird. The reason I'm doing this is very common in the English literature curriculum in the UK, so a lot of people understand this. And this is going to write me a brief summary of the book itself, and it's going to say who it's by, where it's set, what date it's set in, and what the narrative's all about. So I could use this for a little bit of research if I'm studying English literature, and it will basically write a summary of something which we don't really want to read. So basically, too long didn't read, like Reddit, right? Also, we can write from the perspective of someone else to improve the use case, which I'll talk about a little bit later too. So an example of this would be, I could tell ChatGPT who they are, so they're going to speak from that perspective of authority to give me the response. So I'm going to type in, you're a fitness instructor, provide me with a beginner-friendly workout routine, okay? So ChatGPT is going to pretend it's a fitness instructor. It's going to tap into information from its data stores about health and fitness, but it's going to tell me the response as if it was like a personal trainer. So now it's going to give us a beginner-friendly workout routine with our warm-up, squats, push-ups. These are very beginner-friendly things. They're mostly body weight as well, which is actually really easy to do. And it's going to give us information as if it was a trainer telling us a plan, which is really cool, which is why a lot of these jobs are going to be replaced by AI, unfortunately. Also, it can give us brief explanations, which is really useful. So I used that as an example at the start, but I'm going to show you another example. So I'm going to say, explain how photosynthesis works. But the reason I'm doing another example is I want to show you that you can also type in something like this, how it works in a simple language that a kid could understand. You could type in something like this to make the information easier for anyone to understand. Press enter, and it'll tell us how photosynthesis works, and from a viewpoint the kids will understand. And for the most part, photosynthesis is going to be something that's taught in primary school anyway, so it's usually going to be something you're going to teach to kids. So it's going to give us a very simple to comprehend response, although it's given us a lot of information, which I'm quite impressed with actually. What we did before with a fitness instructor, we're going to do that from the perspective of a movie critic. So instead of just typing in write me a review, I'm going to say as a movie critic, write me a review. So it's going to write it as if they were a movie critic. So it's going to give us a better review. So I'm going to type in as a movie critic, write me a review on the film Inception. Absolute classic, right? So it's not just going to write me a random review, it's going to write it as if we were a critic, which is probably going to have a more cynical undertone to it. We could have written a different tone, but we don't want to artificially craft the review. We just want to see what it's going to give us, because that's probably going to be a realistic review. Whereas if we type in write me a cynical review, it's going to purposefully tell us that the film's bad, right? Which we don't want it to do. So it's going to give us a review. I don't know if it'll be Rotten Tomatoes worthy, but that's how you would write a review, especially from the perspective of a critic. Now we can also use ChatGPT for translation, and using it for the means of translation is super useful. I've been learning the German language for quite a while, and I know a fair bit. Now let's say I was a complete beginner. I'm going to use German as an example since I know a little bit. You would type in, for an example, something like translate the following English sentence to German, or whatever language you want to use, then put colon, space, and then you don't have to put speech marks, but I'm going to do that anyway. And then I'm going to type in what we want translating. So I'm going to type in hello, how are you, question mark, and it'll translate it, just like Google Translator, okay? Pretty useful. It'll say hallo, wie geht's es dir in German. So we've translated it. We could also type in, now translate it into Spanish and then French, if we want to know what it is in a few languages. So it'll say, hola, ¿cómo estás? Bonjour, ¿comment ça va? So it's going to translate it into a few different languages, which is really cool. So you can play around with it. You can actually use it to learn languages. You could also say, you are a language coach. Help me learn the basics of German, starting from the bare bones. Give me my first lesson. Something like that, and it's going to write it from the perspective of a coach, and it's going to give us our first lesson. It's going to talk about the German alphabet, which consists of 26 letters, and the 4 additional letters, which I didn't actually know about. I don't think I even went onto the alphabet. I think I skipped right past that. It's going to talk about nouns having 3 grammatical genders, masculine, feminine, and neuter. So this is interesting. Then it's going to give us a few basic phrases. Guten Morgen, wie heißen Sie? So it's going to give us some interesting stuff. So you can use this as a language tutor. I just wanted to show you that additional prompt because it'll help a lot of you guys learn a language if you don't know where to start. So to close out this guide, I hope this has helped you. If you have any questions, comment them below and ask me if you want any information on how to craft a prompt or what to type in. I'm happy to help you. Just make sure to like the video and subscribe. Now I'm going to run you through a few quick tips before we close out the video. Tips specifically on crafting your own prompts and how to type in certain things. So first of all, we want to understand our goal. We want to be very clear and concise when typing in our prompt. Are we asking for a story? Is it a question? Are we trying to get idea generation? What are we trying to do? Make sure to write a specific structure for the prompt we actually want, or I guess the output we want from that prompt. And we also want to be explicit. ChatGPT is very intelligent, okay? It has access to a plethora of stores of information, but it still operates on the information we provide it to. So you need to be literal in your questions that you ask it to actually get the most accurate responses. So let me give you some examples. So instead of saying like, tell me about Paris, which is like a very bare bones question. It's like, it's just going to give us a generic response. Tell me about Paris. It's going to give me like a little bit of information. We want to kind of home in on specifics. Okay, so instead of saying, tell me about Paris, I could type in something like, write me a brief overview of Paris, including its history, main attractions, and its best cuisine. Okay, that's going to give me way better information than just tell me about Paris. It's not even told me about any food. It's just told me about the Eiffel Tower and the generics of what it's good for. Now it's going to give me information on its rich history, cultural heritage, the food that I should go eat if I visit there, and the main attractions, not just the Eiffel Tower. So you get the idea, right? You want to be more specific, ask more thoughtful questions, and you'll get more thoughtful responses. It's as simple as that. It's literally just like you're talking to a person. Think of it less so as a robot and more as a person, and just ask it questions. It's like when you get to know someone, you ask thoughtful questions. It's the exact same with this. If you want good information, ask good questions. Simple. Then you can also do role playing. So I've showed you a few examples earlier of role playing. What I mean by role playing is asking it to assume a certain persona or identity, which we have done to help you get better responses in a tailored tonal style. So I could type in, you are a police officer. Tell me if I can jaywalk. This is kind of a stupid question, but you're asking it to speak from the perspective of that authority, and then you're asking that authority the question instead of a generic person that question. That's why you would use this use case. Another example would be, you're a travel guide. Describe the top 5 must-visit spots in Amsterdam. So now, as if it was a travel guide, it's going to tell us the very best spots. So the Van Gogh Museum, I think I visited this, I'm not entirely sure. I may have skipped it. I didn't visit the Anne Frank house when I went. The Rijksmuseum, very good. Vondelpark, great. The Jordan, very nice spot. So these are good spots. I've been to Amsterdam, right? So I can verify this. But this is probably going to pull data from like travel blogs and stuff like that instead of like generic Wikipedia information. There's also system commands you want to be using, guys. So these can be used to guide the model's behavior. So I've showed you how to use tones. So if you would use a tone, you type in like in a formal tone and then type in your prompt, like tell me what algebra is, something like that. Put the tone at the start or after or somewhere within the prompt. You could also type in, now explain this to me like you would to a 5-year-old. If you don't understand it, and it's going to tell you like a really simple way of understanding it. These are just simple system commands you can use to make things simpler for yourself, make your life easier, improve your prompts, get better responses. Okay, it's literally as simple as that. And that's going to close out this guide video on how to use ChatGPT for beginners. I hope this step-by-step video was very useful. If it was, make sure to click the like button and subscribe, because I'm going to be bringing out a lot of AI videos real soon to help you guys comprehend and understand this space. And I've also got a lot of business and travel videos that you may be interested in as well. Leave any comments and questions down below if you need help with anything in this video, and I'll catch you real soon.